Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tech Tribe, the space where we explore ideas, experiences, and mindsets shaping technology. I'm your host, Ivana Paskovska, and in this episode, we're celebrating World Quality Week, centered on the theme Quality, Think Differently. Joining me are two voices from the QA world who truly live that mindset every day. Margarita Stojkovska sees quality as far more than testing. For her, it's about connecting people, ideas, and technology to create products that users genuinely enjoy and trust. Mirjana Andovska brings system thinking perspective, always looking beyond bugs to uncover insights that strengthen reliability, performance, and user confidence. Together, we'll talk about how quality has evolved, what it really means to think differently, and how trust and curiosity continue to shape the future of QA. Welcome both.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction, Ivana.
It's a pleasure having you both here. But before we dive into today's theme, let's go back a bit. Do you remember how this idea of dedicating a week to quality even came to life? What sparked your interest in it?
Thanks again for giving us the space to talk about these really inspiring topics, at least for us. So, what's interesting is that I actually first heard about World Quality Week from Mirjana. She's the one who told me that people in IT from all around the world have been celebrating World Quality Week since way back in 2008. And to be honest, that really caught my attention. We thought, why not bring this spirit to our local QA community too? It all started quite spontaneously during the pandemic, and unfortunately, in person events weren't possible back then. So, we began by connecting with other QA engineers and sharing some ideas online. And a year later, we organized our first live event. The event was really simple. It was focused on helping people experience QA through fun, real examples, and some on site activities rather than theory. And to be honest, what I loved most was how this event brought people together, different people.
Yeah.
So, students, professional enthusiasts who later become part of the community.
Yeah, I do remember that event actually, if I'm honest. There were so many people. I mean, you could clearly see the excitement in everyone that was involved, especially taking into consideration that previously we didn't have the opportunity to organize any sorts of events. So everyone who actually attended was so happy to be there. It was so engaging and so thoughtful and hands-on experience. If I remember correctly, people gained hands-on experience, right?
Yeah, exactly. And for me, what made the event even more meaningful was that we stayed in touch with all those people and all those participants. And actually, some of them were students who later became QA professionals, and they even invited us to their own QA events later on. So this really gave us the motivation to keep this tradition alive.
And now, 2025, the theme, thinking differently. What do you think
Yeah.
about that, Maggie?
Yeah, I think this year's topic, Think Differently, couldn't be more fitting for us because that's exactly what we've been doing from the very start. So when I hear Think Differently, I also imagine shifting the conversation to some really important conversations like how can we deliver trust? Because to be honest, end users usually don't care how many unit tests have passed or some other technicalities. They simply care if they can trust the product. So thinking differently about quality is building trust at every click, every login, every interaction with the software.
And Mirjana, for you, what comes to mind when you hear think differently?
Yeah, I really like what Margarita says about quality being the new currency of trust. Because, trust is one of the most important things that quality can bring to technology. It matters to everyone, from developers who can really sleep well knowing that there are no bugs and defects, and all the way to the end users who actually rely on our applications to complete their tasks securely and, of course, seamlessly. But for me personally, quality is a culture, actually is a mindset. And thinking differently is about always evolving. And it means about asking questions, trying new ideas, and always aiming for better results. And actually, it's about changing how we look at things so we can find better ways how we can empower individuals at all levels. So why we need to empower people and individuals? We need to empower them to take ownership into quality and contribute to this culture of excellence. Because when people feel ownership, they really care more. And that is how we can build this quality culture and mindset and excellence in our everyday work.
Yes. Yeah. You both mentioned trust. Quality is really about trust, not just tests or metrics, right? Which is what QA is all about, to be honest, at the end of the day. How do you see that mindset showing up in your work, the idea that quality builds confidence for users, not just for the teams, Maggie?
Yeah, to be honest, I have this saying, which I know Mirjana also likes, is that quality isn't about culture. For me and for us, the currency of trust is basically quality. And what I really love about our role is that QAs are often the conversation starters. So this is really nice and honestly fits our characters quite well often. Because jokes aside, from our personal experience, QAs are included right from the start and are expected to have a really critical mindset. So, critical mindset for me in a QA is always a must. We are always involved in the very early stages of the product refinement definition. We are always involved in these so-called feature kickoff sessions, and QAs actually can, and from my point of view, always should challenge the feature solutions. So ask various questions about the design, or simply sometimes share thoughts on the user flows and the user experience.
Good point, Margarita, about being embedded in the team and involved from the start. But it's also important to remember that these testing activities can be offered as a specialized services like performance, accessibility, security testing, because they are usually done by highly skilled experts. And these testing activities still we need to remember that need to be planned and integrated within our project pipeline because they are mandatory part of delivering quality. You cannot do it without them.
So, working in regulated or high stakes areas like payments or identity systems must make quality even more critical, right? What's the biggest QA challenges in delivering secure payments and seamless user journeys in regulated markets? What would you say about that, Maggie?
Yeah, this is quite interesting because, to be honest, as a younger quality engineer, I used to think that testing was mainly about finding bugs and reporting bugs. But over time, I've realized that our responsibilities go far beyond that. And especially when working on complex products, as you mentioned, that involve secure payments and strict regulations, we have to think differently. One of the biggest challenges we face is building solid test strategy and prioritizing the tasks and the risks. And those are huge tasks. Those are constantly evolving tasks, but there are a lot more challenging tasks than these, to be honest. For example, on my current project, QAs are also responsible for the entire release process of the mobile application which we have. That means not only testing, but also collecting all these release artifacts, preparing the release documentation, uploading the mobile apps to the Play Store and App Store. And this means carefully tracking review timelines and deadlines. On the other hand, the QA team also communicate closely with the release managers from other teams and operation teams and just make sure that everything runs smoothly. And I have to mention this. Another major challenge is organizing complex end-to-end sessions between multiple teams. And this sometimes means including more than 20 people. So coordinating all the moving parts so that a complete user journey can be tested properly is definitely a big responsibility and not a small task. So, of course, challenges differ from project to project, and each project has its own dynamics, but that's exactly what keeps our work so interesting.
And from what I have observed, Ivan and Maggie, the common challenge in the project is actually trying to constantly shorten the feedback loop of our testing activities, test executions, and all the activities you mentioned, Maggie, because we are always trying to improve our release pipeline so that it gives us faster and more valuable feedback about how our product is behaving, how our whole system is behaving. So our pipeline in our project starts from the pull request reviews and static analysis. They run all types of tests, from the small unit tests to the end-to-end large tests, exploratory testing, of course, non-functional tests such as performance, security, cross-browser, cross-platform tests, all the way to checking forward compatibility, observability, monitoring. And interestingly, from recently, we also included accessibility testing in our continuous pipeline. And this is all part of our definition of done. So we are constantly refining the whole process. My personal challenge is to find the blind spot when working with such talented product owners and developers, and being able to distinguish those border cases that could impact many users in productions from the ones that feel like wasted time and effort. Those scenarios, that nobody really uses. But this is our craft, right? To balance the exploration, the learning, and impact.
Yeah. You already mentioned accessibility, and it's a topic that I'm really, really interested about. We had an episode, but we will get to that question later. Now, my next question would be, what would you say are your rush drivers?
Oh, there are a lot. I can take this one, and Mirjana, of course, can can add on. But for me, one of the biggest rush drivers is helping others. QAs are often the go-to people on the project. It's naturally always like that. And if someone doesn't know where something is located, or needs a test account, or just wants help verifying a scenario, they usually always come to us. And honestly, I really love that part of my job. Another thing is, and this really keeps me motivated, is the diversity of our skill set. We work closely with different roles, with developers, with designers, with business analysts, and even support teams. So we get to understand a little bit of everyone's world. This really keeps things fresh and keeps the things dynamic. So I have to say, I really enjoy organizing these fun activities like bug bashing sessions. We always prepare scenarios, test cases, and we always invite different people to explore and think outside of the box. I like to learn about these weird, interesting quirks after those sessions. And these are things I'd never have thought of myself. So it really helps me understand how people use the product in the real world. It's always interesting.
Did I hear, Maggie, that you also love bug bashings? I mean, when I hear the word, I have a smile on my face. And from my experience, I can say that I prefer scenario-based exploratory testing, which is a little bit more structured session than the freestyle ones. But it still gives the flexibility to adapt and explore depending on the findings during the session. What I also like about it is that everyone can join at their own pace and time. And Maggie, you're absolutely right. You can't beat the feeling when these kind of testing activities happen. It feels like you have the exclusive right to learn how the functionality works. Like you're on a mission to explore the product, to play around, and to think like a real detective. And because it is a group activity, the energy is amazing. And when other stakeholders join in, yeah, I mean, that is when the magic happens. Everyone looks at the functionality through their own glasses, suggesting improvements and spotting issues from their point of view, and reaching the system behavior beyond imaginable. And what is the best part? You can still use your automated scripts and existing checks, but twist them, change the data, experiment, and explore.
The individuality that everyone brings within the team is actually really expressed, let's say, in a QA team, right? Because everyone has a different perspective, different quirks, different ticks, and everyone sees something different, which actually contributes to the main goal that the team has together to find a solution, or to do all these sessions and kind of like make the best of everything, right?
Yeah,
Celebrating
exactly.
individuality, celebrating individuality maybe should be a next theme. What do you think? That makes
But
sense.
that is where I mentioned quality is a culture and it's a mindset. And it's not only
Yeah.
from the dependent on the quality engineers, as Maggie mentioned. It's everyone.
Mm.
Everyone is contributing. Everyone is doing their own
Yep.
work, and everybody should know how they contribute and what they do
Mm.
in order to increase the quality and get this excellence.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Let's talk AI. So it's a huge buzzword, right? Everyone knows it.
Mhm.
AI this, AI that, AI over here, AI over there. It's everywhere, including in testing, right? How do you see it changing the way we think about quality? Is it changing the way we think about quality at all? And of course, does it influence a role, the role of the QA expert? What's your opinion, Maggie?
Of course, we cannot avoid AI, and some things will never change. For example, I really liked Mimi's comment about us being the detectives. I think that will always stay, and it will always be true. But I definitely see the whole QA evolving. For example, I see QA moving from large and really time-consuming test cycles into some more smaller things, like some micro experiments and some smaller testing activities. What does this mean? I think that every feature, interaction, or flow will be tested like a mini experiment in real time, and AI will actually help with this. We can catch behavioral data and feedback as users interact with the product. For example, in digital identity, this could mean testing small changes in how user logs in or do some simple and everyday activities. And uh, just think about the shift we've already seen. For example, iOS 16 introduced passkeys, and now with iOS 18 bringing automatic
Yeah.
passkeys, users
Mm.
can log in without passwords at all. So this
Yes.
completely changes the game for mobile apps. QAs
Yeah.
will need to ensure these new methods work flawlessly across devices and flows, and they will also need to think about how these feel.
Mm.
This needs to feel safe and confident using them. And of course, AI will always play a huge role in that. We cannot
Mm.
leave out AI. And I think AI is already part of many tools we use every day. It is helping us with bug reporting, with generating test ideas, and designing some test cases. And I feel that AI really supports the repetitive tasks which we usually
Mhm.
did by ourselves. What does
Yeah.
this mean? That it will help us surface some insights faster, and it will leave us do the other things. It will leave us stay focused on creativity, empathy, and critical thinking, which is
Yeah.
truly the human side of quality. So you cannot put AI and to replace this from my
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only as a supportive role. It cannot change the mindset of a person, right? But it can definitely help the process and support the QA expert
Yeah.
in their work. Yeah.
I think of AI as our, let's say, sidekick, as our buddy
Yeah.
who is always here to help.
Assistant. It's assistant. I mean, to be honest, we were talking the other day about AI, of course, and the LLMs and chat GPTs and Claudes and whatnot. And do you have any idea what would it look like if you had the insights of what people actually ask all those AI tools, what they use them for, like to have like this board and have all this information in one place. It would be just ridiculously too much, I think, because it's from work to personal stuff to assisting the work to supporting whatever your needs are on a daily basis. We have it, right? And it's changing. It's here. It's
Mm,
obviously here to stay. We just need to make the most of it. Mirjana, would you agree with this?
Yeah, yeah. Now with the rise of the AI, we are entering a new phase. And AI, believe me, it will definitely become a part of our portfolio and our business domain. And in the testing world, we already see how AI can generate tests automatically, can optimize coverage in ways that human might overlook, right? And even
Mhm.
execute actions and verify outcomes on its own. So the next step for us would be to focus on fine tuning these AI models with our domain knowledge and make sure to include this ethical and unbiased testing. And at the same time, of course, we need to not to forget the basics and the basic activities, such as get valuable feedback from our tests, keeping the scalability and efficiency, maintaining the testing frameworks, using business and domain knowledge to share and to shape the new features that we develop, and of course, to identify the blind spots and risk, as Maggie mentioned, keeping the user's perspective that AI may miss. And working with experienced developers, it's already a challenging task for us because we need to find the blind spots and risks that even the best minds might overlook. And now, with the AI and machine learning algorithms that are getting much more smarter, the bar will raise even higher. So now we will need to outthink the AI. We will need to challenge the assumptions made by both humans and machines.
Yep.
Basically, we'll need to design smarter test strategies. The shift now will be a real brain exercise, and it will push QA professionals to be even greater experts. And if today, for example, the automated frameworks and testing techniques are the core toolkit for QA engineers, then tomorrow, AI tools and knowledge will be the next big addition.
New challenges in the daily work, right? Yeah. I mean, it sounds interesting from this perspective, but when you add on top of everything, it's definitely a challenge. We have to agree that it's definitely a challenge. Okay. I want to circle back now for on the topic of accessibility, as I previously mentioned. And we've had an episode on this topic, accessibility. And I know that it's maybe also a buzzword these days, but it's really important buzzword. Accessibility and inclusive design, it's really important, but I'd love to build on it from a QA perspective. When we talk about accessibility in testing, what do you focus on first? How do you balance that automation that you previously mentioned with real user feedback?
Yeah, accessibility is really fresh topic and as you said a buzzword. But I think the biggest mistake in accessibility testing is treating it like it's just another checklist. What does this mean? For me, accessibility means stepping into someone else's shoes. And this is not a small task. And even better, if possible, what we should do is handing them the product and learn from these people and learn from them directly. So if I had it my way, every feature refinement would include at least one real user with different needs. Someone, for example, using a screen reader, someone navigating only with a keyboard, someone with color vision deficiency.
Yes.
So no automated tool can replace this kind of feedback. This is priceless feedback. And because at the end of the day, accessibility isn't about ticking boxes. It's about making sure that no one is left out of the experience. And this is really, really important.
Yep. Yes. I
And what's
agree.
interesting to get along with the nobody's left out of the experience is that I realized that accessibility isn't just permanent disabilities. It's about making digital experience work for everyone and in every situation. Just think of a broken arm or balancing a child and groceries or
Yeah.
cooking while following a recipe. I mean, all of these moments are moments where accessibility matters. And there are great resources and checklists that can help us verify that we are compliant. But in practice, you have to be inventive. We need to turn those scenarios into a consistent part of our regression testing pipeline. I mean, yes, also automate as much as possible and scale them into a faster feedback.
Yeah.
And there are already possibilities where we can automate voiceover scenarios. And interestingly, currently, we are working on automating voice controlled interactions. And this is the part where it's really exciting because this is where QA sparks innovation. Imagine just a few years ago, we were talking about how can we transfer the voice from screen reader to a text so we can verify that text and we can somehow make our regression testing easier. And yet I must say, nothing replaces the feedback from a real users with real impairments, because at the end of the day, accessibility isn't only about compliance, but it's about embedding inclusion into quality.
And Mirjana, from your perspective, what's the biggest misconception teams still have about accessibility?
The misconception in teams, from my point of view, is that people think that it is a task only for the UX and Q engineers. But the real question that we need to ask here is how can we educate ourselves and do a better job of including this accessibility from the very start of a feature? How can we optimize this? But of course, I'll mention it again. Nothing beats the feedback you get from a real impaired users and how they interact with our product. It's really an eye-opening, a humbling, and you get an incredibly valuable feedback.
I completely agree. And I also like to add on one small thing is that another common misconception is that accessibility testing only needs to happen at the very end, sort of like a final step before the release. But to be honest, by that point, it's often too late or too expensive to fix this properly. So it needs to be done before.
Yes, I completely agree. Interesting point. QA is an innovation driver, right?
Exactly. And this is a great example how QA touches innovation. And let's be honest, for years, testing has been seen as a bottleneck, as a repetitive, uncreating, even boring activity. But yes, testing is a complex and tedious, sometimes very tedious. Those very obstacles can be an opportunity for innovation for us because we can think and rethink how we parallelize and optimize verification, how we can improve the reporting so all stakeholders can get valuable feedback out of it and make informed decisions how to proceed forward and improve the product. And at the end, how to make testing activities more collaborative and insightful for the whole team. And of course, this means to find free time for creativity. And not only our time, but everyone's time. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
While we are at the topic, I have a bit of a challenging question for you while we were on the topic of creativity. So, if you had unlimited resources and no constraints, how would you reinvent QA for your industry?
Maybe I can take this one. I like the question, really interesting question. And we tackled AI, right? I like the AI vision, but if I had the unlimited resources, as you said, I'd reinvent QA by focusing on humans. So I would circle back. I would focus on humans and not just systems. So picture this: a so-called user experience lab, where we don't just check if the product works, but we check how it feels. We test for frustration, for delight, for confusion, for flow, because a product can pass every automated test and still make people hate using it. Let's be honest. So, unlimited resources for me means QA that measures emotion and trust. We mentioned trust so many times. So, we have to say that. And at the same time, I would definitely keep some principles which we already know work well and which we already have, like for example the shift left approach, which help us catch the issues really early and collaborate. And I would also keep the risk-based testing, so I wouldn't chip that much. Some things are already a reality. So it will be this balance, keeping the structure and the strategy we already have, but expanding QA into a space where we test not only functionality, but also human experience and emotion. I would really circle back to us being in the center.
And Mirjana, what about you?
Yeah, I really like that vision. And now that I hear Maggie, I'm thinking how we can detect and understand those feelings through data. Now imagine the information that we can get analyzing these subtle user signals like hesitation before a click, rapid retries, or timeouts that result in abandoned screens. Those patterns can reveal frustration or a confusion even before a user can report this to us, even if the user realizes that this is a problem. So if I had unlimited resources, I'd push QA even further. towards being predictive, proactive, and personalized, where we anticipate issues of any type. And I'll, of course, add AI as an additional tool in our toolkit. And the ultimate goal here is to move beyond reactive bug detection into a future where we can actively shape the evolution of the system, where quality isn't just protecting users from errors, but actually guiding the product to deliver greater value to the end users, to the business, and of course to all stakeholders. And in short, QA team would evolve into quality scientists, the true experts who can visualize system behaviors and train the AI models to recognize these emerging risks. And of course, instead of chasing bugs, they will teach the system how to recognize them on its own.
Mhm. And Mirjana, when you talk about gathering product information, what kind of metrics or indicators matter most to you? Are we talking about error rates, latency, test coverage, or something else completely different?
I'm more interested in metrics that are deeply embedded in the domain context of the product, rather than those metrics that can be easily tricked and played around. Um, for example, in one product, we were transforming a huge amount of data in stages using Spring pipeline pattern. And this pipe needed to be very fast as we were servicing real time data. So, of course, we added a metric that showed us how fast this pipeline was processing the data. And this was not just end time minus start time. We used the moving average metric, which is coming from the statistics and statistical science. And then, as Maggie mentioned, to be able to gather those metrics of user frustration, hesitation, or delight would be much more valuable than those metrics that can be easily played around and tricked.
And what advice would you give to QA teams who want to think or strive to think differently and become more of a strategic partner, let's say?
My advice is very simple. I mean, remember that excellence does not require perfection. I actually heard this line in the Fraser series, TV series, and it stuck with me
Hmm.
ever since. Because thinking differently about QA means to shift from chasing flawless outcomes to creating this continuous improvement, continuous excellence of quality culture of excellence, right? And to become a strategic partner, you need to go beyond just testing and start anticipating. So you need to spot these risks early, ask the thoughtful and tough questions, even when they seem that they will slow down the things and are uncomfortable to ask, because they will prevent bigger problems later. And of course, building quality and trust into every step of the way, along the way, not just at the end, and include everyone from the team, from the stakeholders, different stakeholders, to contribute to this higher quality. I
Mhm,
mean,
mm.
that is the kind of value that QA can bring, to uncover these subtle truths, to protect the credibility and show deep domain expertise. I mean, it's not just testing, it's about knowing what you do and be the best at it.
Mm.
Yeah, I like this idea of knowing what you do. It's always important to know what you do. Of course, you can do exploratory testing and stuff like that, but it's better to know what you do, of course. And one thing I've learned is that when quality becomes visible to everyone, so when quality is not just hidden in reports or test runs, then is when people start caring about it differently. So my advice would be bring others into your process, share insights, show how a test prevented an issue or how user feedback shaped a feature. Bring this stuff to be more visible. Also, never lose curiosity, because thinking differently often starts with asking why one more time. Why users behave this way, why something keeps failing, why we test the way we do. It's just like that.
And we've mentioned this, and I want to circle back to your answers. There are still so many myths about QA that it's only about finding bugs or that quality equals perfection, right? what is one myth you'd like to challenge once and for all?
Ha, interesting. One thing, yeah, I got stuck in this one thing. I want to change many things and many misconceptions, but I need to choose the biggest one, the
One
most one.
thing.
Yeah, one thing. For me, it's that many people identify quality with testing, and testing is just a part of quality. Quality is much more bigger topic, and much more bigger, brings much more bigger value. But testing is one part, and I would say that it has a lot of value here. It's not only about chasing bugs, as you mentioned, but also reveals inconsistencies, unknown behaviors, risks, and actually it helps to make informed decisions how to make our product better. And it's a
Maggie?
whole team. It's a quality culture, and testing is learning. Quality is also about learning and improving.
Yeah, I like these myths, and there are a lot. I cannot pick one favorite myth about us, but one which I often hear is that QA slows down delivery. So many people still believe that involving QA early or doing thorough testing will delay releases, and in reality, it's so much different. It's definitely not like this. In reality, good QA accelerates delivery. So
Mm.
we catch issues early, we always clarify the requirements, and we prevent rework of the things later. So this is one myth that I would really like to mention and address. Because when testers collaborate from the start, teams spend less time firefighting at the end. So quality work speed the things up. Because as we mentioned so many times in this conversation, quality builds confidence and it always reduces the chaos.
Well, I have to say that this was such an insightful conversation, from quality as a mindset to trust as an objective measure of success to how curiosity drives innovation in QA, etc. Huge thank you both for sharing your thoughts and experiences with me today and with our audience.
Thank you, Ivana, for inviting us and
Yeah.
have this nice chat and talk to share our thoughts.
Thanks from my side as well. It was really smooth and time really flight fast with you.
Yes, and I feel like we will definitely have another episode where we go a bit in deep with our conversation and fix on some matters that we kind of like scratched the surface with during this episode. And here's to thinking differently about quality, not just this week, not just 1 week a year, but every day. Thank you all for listening to Tech Tribe, for tuning into this episode. Remember, stay curious and see you next time.